Fold and give it. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Loudly, loud. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Loudly. Louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जयम विश्वपाद ब्रह्मंस परिव्रजकचार्य अष्टवतश्री श्री श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद जी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज फॉर असम्बली बॉडीज। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुषुमिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, we are reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrta. The chapter is Breaking Ground. Breaking ground is going on. Then, now Srila Prabhupada actually he's come out of the house, he's come out of the Bauri, right? He's come out of the Bauri, he's left the house of his sponsors, Gopal Agarwal, Shaili Agarwal, And then he stayed with the Bauri where David attacked him. And he moved out. And then Srila Prabhupada, I think now is in 26th Avenue, right? He's in 26th Avenue now. This is like the physical birthplace of ISKCON, 26th Avenue. I think in this chapter, Prabhupada registered ISKCON. This is the physical birth of ISKCON in 26th Avenue, New York. Because the mental birth of ISKCON happened when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he instructed Srila Prabhupada at Ulta Danga Road. We have that place now with ISKCON. ISKCON has purchased the place at Ulta Danga where Srila Prabhupada met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the first time. And in the first meeting, what happened? Huh? And Srila Prabhupada was not wanting to go and meet Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur because from his childhood he has seen many sadhus whom his father used to invite. And some of them did not have that good standards. Some of them used to, smoke a bidi. So Srila Prabhupada had experienced all the sadhus from his childhood. But the biggest impact Srila Prabhupada had was his father. His father. Because his father, Prabhupada mentions this, there was arrangement for Srila Prabhupada to go to London and become a barrister. But Srila Prabhupada's father refused. He said, no, I don't want my son to go and associate with meat eaters and women hunters. I don't want my son to go and associate with meat eater and women hunters. And that proposal of Prabhupada to go to London to become a barrister was rejected by his father. And his father used to invite all the sadhus at home, whoever would be coming in the locality. And he used to request everyone, bless my son so that he becomes a devotee of Radharani. So, seeking all these blessings, Srila Prabhupada had some experience about so-called sadhus also. And Prabhupada used to mention that his father's schedule, in this Lilamrta only, his father's schedule is mentioned. That his father used to get up and then do worship of Radha Krishna. Elaborate worship, long worship, aramse, peacefully. And then he would offer bhoga to the deities. And then he would take breakfast. By the time it would be like 10, 11 o'clock. And then he would go to the shop for a while. And Prabhupada mentions that actually my father was doing the business for namesake. He was actually a devotee of Krishna. If you calculate his whole day, he would come back early also. And they'd, spend time with the family. And it would all be Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada remembers that his father was actually not doing this business or his work. It was only for namesake. Already he was a devotee of Krishna. So, this was a very great impact in Srila Prabhupada's life, seeing his father rejecting materialistic education further for him, which could become his career. And second thing is, the way he conducted himself. Now, the second biggest impact Srila Prabhupada had was meeting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur at Ulta Danga. When he met him, Bhakti Siddhanta was very impressed to see Srila Prabhupada, and he told him, you are a young English-speaking Indian gentleman. Why don't you take the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the English-speaking world, to the Western world? And Srila Prabhupada was not convinced. Srila Prabhupada was thinking in his mind, and he asked Bhaktisiddhanta that India is a Western dominated nation. Who's going to hear the message of India? It's the Western dominated country because the British was ruling the country at that time. Who's going to listen the message? So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the message of Godhead doesn't depend upon the political situation of the nation. It is a need of all humanity always. It's a very powerful statement. It had such an impact. This statement shook Srila Prabhupada from inside. And Prabhupada accepted Bhakti Siddhanta as his spiritual master in this first meeting. In this first meeting only. This reply, that's why if you go to Ulta Danga, in Ulta Danga, generally on every road it is written the road number and written, right? Cross Road, Lala Lajpat Road, like that. It's you. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maya ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. So, if you go to Ulta Danga, there it is written birthplace of ISKCON on the road on the top. How many of you seen that? It's written birthplace of ISKCON. The mental birth of ISKCON happened with this statement of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Prabhupada later reflects that he was very happy to see the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in very safe hands. Yesterday I was hearing one clip of Prabhupada on Bhaktisiddhanta. So he was telling my Guru Maharaj, he told me that I should go and preach in the Western world. But I was thinking how I can do that. By then Srila Prabhupada was already married. He was already married. And then after Srila Prabhupada left, his spiritual master left this world, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came 3-4 times in the dream of Srila Prabhupada and told him, take sannyas. Prabhupada woke up and he was a grihastha with family and children. And Prabhupada was thinking that my Guru Maharaj is telling me I should take sannyas, but I am a family man. How can I take sannyas? Again after some time, he got dream. Again Bhaktisiddhanta told him in the dream, take sannyas. Prabhupada woke up and he said, I am a family man. I was thinking like this. I'm a family man. I have my business and I have to take care of them. My Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj is telling me to take sannyas. And then Prabhupada says that, but by his mercy, my business went blank corrupt and I could come out of my family life also. It is by his mercy. And then I took sannyas. And then Prabhupada cries actually. He said, I am an old man, but I don't know. I have come here to this Western world. And you young boys and girls are helping me. It is by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj that you all have come to help me. And then Prabhupada starts crying. Srila Prabhupada starts crying. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's meeting, Srila Prabhupada, the first meeting, was actually the birth of ISKCON. The second physical birth is in this place, 26th Avenue. Then only a few years before, Srila Prabhupada arrived on the different kind of slum dwellers and appeared on the lower east side. Although there have been many sociological and cultural analysis of this phenomenon, it remained ultimately inexplicable why they suddenly came like a vast flock of birds swiping down, or like animals in the great what is this? Instinctual migration. And why after a few years they vanished? At first, the newcomers were mostly young artists, musicians, intellectual, similar to hip crowd of Prabhupada's Bauri days. Then came the young middle class dropouts, because living space was more available and rent were lower than the nearby Greenwich village. They concentrated here on the lower east side, which is the parlance of the renting agents. Renting agents became known as the East Village. Many even came without finding a place to live and camped in the hallway of tenements, drowned by cheap rent and promise of Bohemian freedom. Now, what is Bohemian freedom? Anybody knows? Actually, yesterday I was briefly reading. Describes as a person who lives a free-spirited, artistic and unconventional life. They usually do not follow strict social rules and regulations. The young middle class dropouts, the avant-garde and a nationwide youth movement, soon to be known as in the media as hippies, wandered to the lower east side slum in living protest against America's good life of materialism. As if responding to her instinctual call, younger teenage runaways joined the older hippies, and following the runaways came the police, counselors, social and welfare workers, youth hostels, drug counseling centers. On the St. Mark's Place, a new hip commercialism sprang up, with a head shop, poster shops, record shops, art galleries, bookstores that carried everything from cigarette paper to hip cloths and what is psychedelic lighting. You know what is this? A style of visual art uses bright swelling and flash colors to create a dazzling or a magical atmosphere, often synced to music. Often synced to music. The hippies journeyed to the lower east side in full conviction that this was the place to be, just as their immigrants predecessors had done. From the European immigrants of another age, New York Harbor had been the gateway to a land of riches and opportunities. As they at long last set their eyes on Manhattan skylines and the Statue of Liberty. Now, in 1966, American youth thronged to New York City with hopes of their own and feasted on the vision of their newfound mystical land, the Lower East Side slums. Now you can see here, Srila Prabhupada's timing of reaching America is a very big, there is a big uproar in the young generation. People were giving up their own culture. They were giving up houses and they were coming to this place where Srila Prabhupada was living. It's called East Village. They're saying it East Village. And then Prabhupada it's mentioned yet it had become like a town or a village of the hippies. A town or village of hippies. Once hippies were very prominent and eventually they had developed a very strong community there where, free mixing, intoxication, gambling was a culture, a very common culture of living. So, and anyone would say that this is wrong, they would feel very offended. And for them, taking drugs, LSD, marijuana, it was a path. They were seeking spirituality. So they were also heading towards the Eastern approach of yoga. And along with that, to make you feel high, intoxication was a very big tool. And they were called as a group of hippies. Within the group of hippies, they had subgroups also. And Srila Prabhupada was living there when this movement broke out of the hippies in New York. All the youths of America were crowding there. And Srila Prabhupada was living there. One day one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada. And the reporters were very smart because Srila Prabhupada had all hippie followers. So Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter. Generally reporters are very smart. They try to dig out. So now this reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, what do you think about this hippie movement? Prabhupada looked at this. He said, you know better than me. Prabhupada said, you know better than me. And Prabhupada had a flower in his hand and he was laughing. And they were all like, no, Srila Prabhupada, what's your view on it? Prabhupada said, something extraordinary, he said. He didn't give, Srila Prabhupada was so expert now, he would never give the reporter what the reporter wants. Prabhupada would give what he wants to give only. And if the reporter would not come to the point what he wants to give, Prabhupada would lift the reporter and then give him what he wants. That is Srila Prabhupada. So the reporter, again Prabhupada said, something extraordinary, you know better. And everyone started laughing, but Prabhupada did not speak a word against hippie movement because he knew all of them were following. And in those days, as days went by, some few followers started coming. And those initial days was very difficult because Srila Prabhupada had to deal all kind of crazy people. And that's where the storefront was, in the middle of all these drunkards. Sometimes it is mentioned right in front of this matchless gift shop. It was actually a gift shop which Srila Prabhupada rented. And Prabhupada kept that name as it is. He didn't remove that name. Because Srila Prabhupada actually had that matchless gift for the whole world. So Krishna made that arrangement. The shop was already named as matchless gift, and Prabhupada took his books and went there. That's where actually even the Gita was translated later on, printed, published later on. So matchless gift is what Srila Prabhupada had and to give to the world. And Srila Prabhupada told that let that name be there and then write Bhagavad Gita class. Bhagavad Gita class, And people who would be walking on the street, they would be very annoyed because in the night, some group of drunkards would be loitering and falling down unconscious on the street, 26th Avenue. And sometimes they would not be awake in the morning. Srila Prabhupada used to make his way to go up and pass by them. That was the situation. And when Srila Prabhupada started his program, so some of them used to come, some of the drunkards used to come and sit in the class. He said just some drunkards used to even make noise in between. Like that, In India we say na pee ke tight hai. Such kind of audience, sometimes they would just walk in. One day, there was one person who had high on drugs. Prabhupada was giving a class. So he saw matchless gift shop, Bhagavad Gita class. And he was looking continuously. Prabhupada was giving class. Continuously he was staring. And the person had toilet paper with him. Toilet paper. Toilet tissue paper. He was staring continuously. Then he walked in. Near the washroom, he kept some toilet papers. Looked at Prabhupada. Prabhupada was giving class and went out of the room. Prabhupada told him, "Thank you very much." Thank you very much. Because he gifted a toilet paper. Kept it outside. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples said that even that guy was intoxicated fully, not in his senses. Everyone was very annoyed to look at him. But because he kept a toilet paper in front of the door and went there, Prabhupada recognized that and thanked him. He said, "Thank you very much." Prabhupada even in that situation recognized that. "Thank you very much." And that was the crowd from where Srila Prabhupada brought up young American boy and girls to India to preach in dhoti kurta and sari. That was in the 50th sannyas anniversary of Loknath Maharaj and Navyogendra Maharaj. So Loknath Maharaj says that he was studying in Mumbai. So when he went for the Pandal program in Mumbai, he was shocked to see that so many, at least 100 devotees were there, young American, European boys and girls, all of them young like Loknath Maharaj. And they were all in dhoti kurta, tilak, and the Matajis were in saris. When Loknath Maharaj saw all this thing, he was shocked. So Maharaj in his 50th anniversary, he was mentioning that 7 days I went for the whole 7-day Pandal program. What was the biggest shock to me was all these Western boys and girls were in dhoti and kurta, tilak and sari. And all the Indians were in imported pant and shirt. All the Indians were in imported pant and shirt because downtown, all the Indians were in imported pant and shirt, including himself. And all the Western devotees were in dhoti and kurta. He said this was the magic of Srila Prabhupada. He was shocked to see that, That was the magic of Srila Prabhupada. And he established the movement there with culture. He established the movement, and the way Srila Prabhupada started preaching from here, this Rameshwar Swami writes, in his offering, he mentions that this famous conversation of Srila Prabhupada with Swarup Damodar Maharaj, the book, it is transcripted and a book is come out of it. You know what is that book? Life comes from life. That whole conversation is so strong. That was one of the second or third books I read actually, after the Lilamrta. The book is so powerful, no? That conversation is so powerful that Prabhupada is so heavily criticizing the scientists. So heavily criticizing scientists that when Prabhupada got the transcript of this, he said, "Print it." And Rameshwar Swami got scared, he said, "Prabhupada, you really want to print this?" He said, "Yes." And Rameshwar Swami was so disturbed, he felt the whole scientific world will file a case against ISKCON and a new movement will be shut down by that book, by that book. Srila Prabhupada speaks so heavy. Nonsense scientists, atheist scientists, women hunters, slaughterhouse, Why we should follow them? Like one conversation is there, Srila Prabhupada is telling about, they say God, nobody has seen God. Prabhupada said, why? Nobody has seen God? Just because this nonsense scientist, they have not come across a person who has seen God, because they have not come across such a person, they have not come across something like this, God doesn't exist. We are not here to believe they are nonsense. We are not believe you. And Shrutakirti Prabhu says that those conversations, very few could understand. Because Damodar Maharaj used to ask very technical questions. But what we could really see, Prabhupada blasting the scientists. And many of us would walk slow, because we just could not control our laugh. We just could not control our laugh. Prabhupada blasting light left and center the scientist. You should read that book. That book is so heavy. Anandmay Prabhu, our Anandmay Prabhu from Ibit's temple, he was making life members in India. So he had met one member. He went to meet one very rich gentleman, very qualified lady. So she actually somehow or other got this book, Life Comes from Life. And when she saw Prabhu, Anandmay Prabhu ISKCON dressed as sadhu, ISKCON sadhu has come, she started chastising Anandmay Prabhu for what this Swamiji has written in this book. He said, she told Anandmay Prabhu that I will complain to Indira Gandhi to close this movement. I will complain to Indira Gandhi to close this movement. The science is such an important tool of education, and your Swamiji is criticizing the science and the scientists like this in this book. I will write to Indira Gandhi to close this movement. And Anandmay Prabhu had gone to that house to make that Mataji life member. He had received a contact to go and make her a life member. And there she was blasting him that I am going to complain to Indira Gandhi. Anandmay Prabhu, everyone who knows him, he was such a sage. Very humbly, he preached to her that our Swamiji, he is talking about the atheistic scientist. The scientists who are atheistic, those who don't believe in God, or those who are taking away God from the life of humanity. Our Swamiji is criticizing those scientists. By the end of the conversation, Anandmay Prabhu came out with a check of membership from her house. He came out with a check of membership from her house. Srila Prabhupada struggled a lot in this place because of the youths. And it is said, from this place until he got frustrated and went to Tompkins Square Park and did Sankirtan, till that time, from this Bauri and then to this 26th Avenue, several times Srila Prabhupada used to go to the office of, what was the company house? Is Scindia's, this Sumati Murarji's company. He used to go very often and ask, when is Jaloduta coming back? And he would get the date when Jaloduta is coming back, and he would tell them, keep one ticket seat for me. I would like to go back. And when the date would come to go back, Srila Prabhupada used to wait. He used to wait, and he used to think that let me try one more month. And then he would postpone. And then again he would go and ask for the date when Jaladuta is coming back, to go back to India. Because he was done. He said, this is not what I can do. Nobody is interested in Krishna consciousness. And the people were very, very low in consciousness and degraded. And then he would attempt to go back and not go back. And one day, Prabhupada mentions that he was so frustrated that he lost all hopes. Then he took his kartals and went on Kirtan. He just took the shelter, because when nothing worked, he just simply took the shelter of the holy name. And he just went on the street and chanted, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And some young hippies started following him, and they were already high in drugs. So they were raising their hands, and this mantra also made them feel more high. And they started raising their hands and dancing. Some of them started moving their legs. Some of them went around Srila Prabhupada dancing, moving their legs and hands. And Prabhupada saw that people are coming, and he went into trance, and he started chanting very deeply. That chanting is still available actually. It was recorded. It's still available. It is said that chanting of Srila Prabhupada is calling of a soul. Very deep calling of a helpless soul. Which attracted so many souls to this Krishna consciousness movement. And then Srila Prabhupada's biggest point was he was ready to think about coming back if he was not able to establish this movement. But the Lord's reciprocation, Srila Prabhupada was there because Srila Prabhupada did not compromise. He did not compromise at all. He did not compromise because there were many yogis, there were many spiritualists. They had compromised there. Some of them were even eating meat, and they were all speaking all kind of philosophy, what people want to hear. What people want to hear. But Srila Prabhupada's choice was, I would rather go back, but no compromise. I would rather go back if I cannot give the pure message. But not compromise. Actually, this is a very big lesson for all of us. On that principle, this movement was established. Why? The Lord's reciprocation came only when Prabhupada felt helpless, but he was not ready to compromise. Try to understand. Prabhupada felt helpless, but he was not ready to compromise. All of us in our Krishna consciousness very often feel helpless. Isn't it true? Very often feel helpless. But when we are helpless, we are not supposed to compromise. We are supposed to take more shelter of the holy name, more shelter of the devotees, and then the Lord will reciprocate. Only then will the Lord will reciprocate. Otherwise, Lord's movement doesn't depend on us. It will go on. And Prabhupada, I said recently I just came from Mayapur. And unfortunately, there's this big agenda going on. The big agenda going on. I was there at Mayapur, and apparently we had a meeting, and there's a discussion in our movement about, Mataji becoming initiating guru. It's going on for a long time. Mataji becoming initiating gurus, I said, without any kind of guru, they can give a hard time to the whole world. So, and Indian leaders are very strongly trying to, discuss on this topic. And I apparently, and the discussion amongst the devotees is so shocking. I could not understand much because it was all philosophical. One group of devotees are quoting Srila Prabhupada, other group of quoting against Srila Prabhupada only, and one group is quoting Shastras, scriptures, books, different acharyas' writings. And I was like, my goodness, what scholarly explanation, everyone, debate, full on debate. So, in that conversation, I was there. So then I raised my hand and I spoke. I spoke based on what I understood. What I spoke, some of the leaders who were in that group meeting, they told me, you go for the GBC meeting, you present this. You go for the GBC meeting and you present this. I did not feel that it will happen. But actually the Shastri committee, one of few members told me that you should come and present. And I was scared. I said, GBC Prabhupada disciples, who's going to come and sit and talk in front of them? So no, you present. So I presented. And I made it very simple. And I told a few points, very simple points I made actually. I would like to share with all of you based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings. I made a few points, and based on those points they told me you go for the GBC meeting. You know what did I mention? Yeah. The first thing I told is, with all due respect to the senior leaders, especially the mothers who want to become initiating gurus. Many current generation leaders were not even born, when these devotees were serving Srila Prabhupada. Then I mentioned, Srila Prabhupada established this movement through Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, Prasadam distribution, deity worship, and Vaishnava culture or Vedic culture, correct? He established this movement, he started this movement. Initially nobody would understand Gita, Bhagavatam, Sanskrit, nothing. These were the 4 things which people got connected to. One were books, Harinam, Prasadam, the temple standard deity worship, and culture. Culture plays a very important role in all the above aspects. It educates a sadhaka about rules, values, and philosophical understanding which are essential for every practice. Vaishnava etiquette naturally flows from a strong cultural foundation. Correct or not? See, many of us who are not been devotees, specifically if you come from Telangana, southern part of India, many of us who may not be very introduced to the culture being in metro cities, but you see in small places, they don't have the book called Vaishnava etiquette like we have. Isn't it true? They don't have courses, but you will see it is naturally being followed. Correct or not? Because Vaishnava etiquette naturally flows in the cultural foundation. Similarly, the roles and responsibility of a man and woman, including appropriate dress code, are very important aspect of the culture. Very important aspect of the culture. If culture were not important, Srila Prabhupada would not introduce dhoti kurta for men, saris for women as standard dress. These practices have a deep psychological and spiritual impact. Srila Prabhupada was a Mahabhagavat, a pure devotee of Krishna, who made all necessary adjustments that he felt were important during his physical presence. We should not selectively take quotes from here and there and adjust the present day idea and present them as Srila Prabhupada's words, ignoring the context of time, place and circumstance. The Vaishnava Diksha Guru presents a major philosophical change. Srila Prabhupada had wanted this, he would have very clearly and repeatedly stated this. Both men and women should become gurus and give initiation. Such a significant change would have been explicitly mentioned as a future direction. In India or anywhere else in the world, it is already a great challenge to help women understand their role and duties based on the scriptures, along with the dress code as taught by Srila Prabhupada. Adding this Vaishnavi Diksha Guru on the top of this would be a disaster to Srila Prabhupada's cultural approach. We strongly believe that woman as a mother plays a very vital role in the life of every child. She is a carrier of culture and instills the culture in the child. She is in fact the first Shiksha Guru of every child. By faithfully following this role, naturally she commands love and respect throughout her life. So this is what I spoke. When I spoke this, they told me to go to the GBC meeting and present the same thing. And I went and presented. The reason I read out it is such an important thing because culture plays such a role. If you see, the nuclear family system which has come up, which Srila Prabhupada was very much against all this, it has come up only to destroy the cultural approach. Because what happens when you live amongst people, when you live amongst a group, amongst a community, amongst a joint family, naturally you are commanded to act responsibly. Correct or not? You are commanded to act responsibly. You put a nuclear family, husband will become very attached to sense gratification. And the woman will not respect such an husband. And women will fight, and nobody is there, other family members, elder members. She will fight like anything and put the man down. And the man has to surrender to the woman. And this nuclear family approach destroys the whole accountability of Vedic culture. And today, this is being so strongly promoted. This is like life. Even in our movement, unfortunately, this is life. This is life now. You cannot tell anything. And with that, nowadays a young generation, because of social media, seeing the reels all day, we are not getting normal youths to join also our movement. We are getting crackpots. Only mentally retired, Many of you youths, when they come to introduce to Krishna consciousness, many of them are mentally retired. Mentally retired. Not medically proved. Just when they live with us, we understand it, Many of them. Nobody knows only. The goal of life has become earn money, be financially settled. It's all about being practical. The bottom line is financially being settled. And those who are financially settled are the most fearful and frustrated. Recently I was working on a project, a musical project, to develop something to present Krishna consciousness on the level where nowadays a lot of people are, approaching spirituality through modern music, a lot of kirtans, and I was trying to work out. So I reached some top artists. I will not name them because it's all live. So I met really top artists, top music composers of Bollywood. Last 1 month I met few of them. I met some top production houses, producers of Bollywood. And I understood it's a horrible suffering. On the top, to maintain that position, they have to become impersonal and lonely. Impersonal and lonely. Because if they are friends with someone of little below level, their credibility on the social media will go down. For that they are not available. But they are alone, but they have millions of views. But they are suffering. This is truth. But they are suffering. But once they come out of their house, one of the artists, one producer told me, one of the artists, he is taking medicine. He is taking a medicine of depression. But when he comes out of his house, goes to one place and comes back home, he earns 4 to 5 crores. Can you imagine this? हम लोग तो 11,000 के मेंटेनेंस में खुश हो जाते हैं. And he's taking depression medicine because he's a brand value. When he comes out of the house, gets into the car, goes into a shop or cuts a ribbon and comes back home, 4 or 5 crore comes into his account before he goes out, comes to his account. But he doesn't talk to people, he doesn't be friendly with people because the brand value will go down if he's known with the common people. And if he makes friendship socially, Then they will say, अरे यार मेरा एक पार्टी है उसका ओपनिंग आ जाओ ना, अरे हम लोग का एक फैमिली प्रोग्राम उधर तुम आ जाओ ना. So if he becomes social, he becomes socially obliged to fulfill the social needs of the society. For that reason, they don't mix socially. I never knew. Anyone knew about these things? I was doing this project, so I came to know, अरे बाबा, मतलब ये तो क्लास में बोलने के लिए नया पॉइंट मिल गया. The suffering, such a level it is. Oh my God, cannot imagine. And so nicely they have destroyed. Like, for example, Matajis are here, Prabhus are here. If the men are not attached to Guru and not struggling to progress spiritually, women are very intelligent. They find that weakness of a man. It is said women will be only attached to a man who is detached from the worldly affairs, but very attached to Krishna and Guru and his mission. Such a man becomes very attractive to a woman. And a woman, it is mentioned in the scriptures that she should always be in the shelter of a father, husband and son. Because when she is under the shelter of these three always, she is not exposed to other men. And because when she is not exposed to other men, she doesn't have intimacy or too much conversation with other men than her husband. So this culture established what? She doesn't know to converse with other men. And then she only sees her mother submissive to the father. And when such a culture is established in a woman, when she goes home, she becomes very attractive. Why? She does one thing she doesn't do. She doesn't back answer the husband. Those who are married will agree. The biggest frustration in Grihastha life is when the wife back answers. And back answers with a point and with big nose and big eyes, That's the biggest frustration in a man's life, But when that is not there, that can be there for Krishna consciousness, for children Krishna consciousness, but not for materialism. Because when the man is weak like this, then the woman will take. वो प्रभु जी ने ऐसे किया, देखा आपने? The man will, देखा ही नहीं होगा तो भी सोचने लग जाएगा, ऐसा किया क्या? देखा भी नहीं होगा तो सोचने लग जाएगा आदमी. We are just building some ashram for grihasthas to say. So my wife tells, Sachinandan Prabhu गए, उन्होंने ऐसा change कर दिया. मला चुप, मेरे को बोल मत ऐसा, I told her. अरे switch board, sink, बर्तन धोने का sink, toilet का position, so much tension, my God. So much tension, I was telling my wife, see, what you are telling me now, I have realized how joint families broke in the material world. How you are telling me, this is exactly the way things happen in the houses. This is exactly, and the man takes the man takes his queen's words so seriously, and then he comes out immediately action. Arey, ye kyun kiya? A couple of times, Sachi, change like this. Then I send a voice message. No women will go to see the house there, I said. So material world is like this. Culture is such an important aspect. Joint family system, Vaishnava community. Actually, we speak big philosophy and we read. Nowadays, there is a big reading culture. Online reading culture. Technically, rat do Prabhupada ka book. People have Bhakti Shastri certificate, Bhakti Vaibhav certificate. But you ask them, how much have you lived with devotees? Never. Weekend, 2 hours. Recently, we had a state council meeting, Telangana state council meeting. In that state council meeting, we were talking about leadership position. So, there were technical certification. And then I raised my hand, I said, unfortunately, nowadays, we are not asking the qualification from a devotee, how many hours did you distribute Srila Prabhupada books in a day and how many years? How many hours did you burn yourself doing chanting the holy name? How many times have you cleaned the whole ashram toilet bathrooms and cleaned the floor? How much did you cook for the deities in the backup service? These criteria are not asked only. And nowadays, see, when I did Bhakti Shastri, there was no online, internet was not active. I had to go and live 6 months in Mayapur under Atul Krishna Prabhu and study the whole Gita. Nowadays, so people come running, Prabhuji, Maharaj Diksha de rahe, mujhe Diksha, maine Bhakti Shastri, ho gaya Prabhuji, maine kabhi? Online. बोला ऑनलाइन दीक्षा ले लो, फिर बोला मैं ऑनलाइन. पीपल आर जस्ट बोलते हैं ना रट्टा मारो. यू अंडरस्टैंड रट्टा? यू नो दिस रट्टा मारो. आई वॉज दैट कैटेगरी ऑफ स्टूडेंट. यू नो, एग्जाम के पहले पढ़ो सिर्फ पास होने के लिए. द ओनली थिंग व्हिच आई स्टडीड इन माई होल लाइफ प्रॉपरली was Bhakti Shastri, 4 books of Prabhupada. Before that I never studied properly any of the material books. Because as soon as competition in the schools I saw the toppers are so selfish. So selfish the toppers. I decided ये पढ़ना ही नहीं है मुझे. पढ़ो सिर्फ पास होने के लिए और मजा करो बैक बेंच पे बैठ के. I just could not become a selfish man in my life, you know. So, the point I was trying to mention that this movement, Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrta, has the change in the world happened through his books, Harinabad, but culture was very important. If we want to make this world a better place, men and women, you know, have to play their roles. Nobody speaks about this in our movement today. And it's a very small and the smallest minority who speaks about these things, you know. Even for brahmacharis, you know, the whole approach has become, should not be like this. It's very, very external. External means, you know, followers are, सबसे dangerous intoxication is the intoxication of followers. You give a class, some people become your followers. And with those followers, you start giving more classes. And you go on giving for 2-3 years. Automatically, you become a guru or guru mata. And people bow down to you. They bring the plate for you. And they serve prasadam. They take your plate and wash also. These are the most dangerous thing. Most dangerous thing. And, you know, many of the youths I have seen, they are hearing classes and making notes for important points. And those notes are to use for their class actually. Use for their class. But actually, our notes should be towards the depth of spirituality. Depth of spirituality, you know. Sacrifice of the speaker. Sacrifice of the speaker. If his words are having impact, where is it coming from? What's his background? What has he contributed? You know, I always tell devotees that don't be influenced by YouTube scholars, speakers. I always tell all devotees under me. I'll tell you, when Mataji had recently, I don't meet her much, I've met her 4 or 5 times, but I had gave her a couple of instructions when she was having some difficulty in marriage. So, a few years ago she called me, and she started telling problems in her marriage life. Somehow or other, this is a couple of years ago, I asked her one question, and it was so accurate. I told her, are you hearing lectures regularly of XYZ person? And she said, yes. And I said, that's the root cause. It just happened spontaneously. And then I told her, please hear to a person who has at least 25 plus years given to Srila Prabhupada's movement. 30, 40 years, 50 years who have sustained in bhakti. Radha Govinda Maharaj, Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, Burijan Prabhu. when you hear these kind of people, Radhe Shyam Prabhu, when you hear these kind of people, their depth is so powerful, even if you don't know them, you will connect to them. And these people who are just new and having bombastic classes, you don't know them, and they also don't know how long they're going to be in the movement. But we just become following, taking points out of it. It's very dangerous. Our movement grew on simple thing. Going out, first thing. First thing is going out. For what? Distributing books, distributing prasadam, doing Harinam. Brahmacharis, 5 to 6 years initial spiritual life. Second is in the temple, management pressure, load. Burned out, you say burned out, It's so important to be burned out. But burned out to the extreme of not going out, being in only. That's the real burned out. Because depth comes from taking pain, taking pressure. That's where the depth comes from. After 10, because I saw in my childhood, the early days ISKCON, when I joined the ISKCON which was shifting from temple culture to congregation, then I stayed in between this 10 years. And 11th, 12th year, I had a meeting with Nitai Madhav Chaitanya. Repeatedly, remember Nitai Madhav? Repeatedly I used to tell him, no, we have to go back to the 70s. No, this is not going to work long. This will fall apart in some time. People will be more confused in this approach. We have to go back. Keep the traditional approach. That is why, marriages of devotees, Mataji's when they become devotees, marriages, Baba. People come. If you see how our Brahmananda Prabhu in early days, Nitai Madhav, you remember? One young girl was coming to a temple, New York. One young boy was coming. The boy wanted to get married. Brahmananda picked up the phone. And she said, see, he's coming. He's a very sincere devotee. He's a brahmachari. He's very nice. And he wants to get married. Since you are also coming to the temple, why don't you get married to him? Just told her directly. And she said, I didn't think about it. Says, what's there to think, Brahmananda? What's there to think? He also want to become Krishna conscious. You also want to become Krishna conscious. And they actually get married. When Brahmananda Swami left his body, that Mataji, that couple wrote this. You remember that? That couple wrote this. Nowadays, you marriage, people will come. हमारी बेटी है, उसकी डिग्री है, हमारा जात है, एक घर भी होना चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ मिले तो हमको बता देना. And I reply, लड़का है, एकदम जबरदस्त भक्त, पूर्ण शरणागत शास्त्र को, गुरु को, संस्था को, fully dedicated to the mission, to the scriptures, and has complete faith on Krishna, that Krishna will maintain. But घर नहीं है, जात थोड़ा नीचे का है, दिखता भी इतना अच्छा नहीं है, मगर भगवान पे पूरा भरोसा है. That father never comes back in this lifetime to me. दूर से हरे कृष्णा करते हैं people. That is why even when some girls who came out from our congregation, our Shama Sundari is sitting here. She came to Mayapur. I told my wife, इसको इतना डांटो अपने गलतियों पर कि सहन करे तो ठीक है. Great. She is qualified to get married to a missionary. She cannot tolerate. जाने दो, जिसको जहाँ जाना है जाने दो. Because for a woman, I feel education means चुप. अगर मदर इन लॉ ने बोल दिया and you have a smile, ठीक है, you have a smile on the face, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. That's a real training. You don't get affected. People commit suicide because of mother-in-law shouting, It's such because there is no training. So difficult that It cannot take correction. The world is suffering with these things. Let me tell you, the world is suffering. Mataji, am I right or no? World is suffering with these things. And then it extends to the extension, our extension. Bacche ho gaye to. The whole world is wrong if something goes wrong with my child. All devotees are wrong, philosophy is wrong, everything is wrong. It extends. It extends. And the movement loses its presentation, what it should be. How it should be looking. How it should be looking, it's lost completely. So it's very important. This whole approach which Srila Prabhupada had established, we have to, anyone who comes in contact with a Krishna conscious Grahastha community or a young brahmachari, they should feel that I want to be with them, and after that I want to be like them. Now it's happening that I wanted to be like them, but I'm confused now. That's what is coming out. I'm confused now. So we have a great responsibility towards making this movement. Srila Prabhupada said that I have made a house where the whole world can live. Isn't it true? I have made a house where the whole world can live. It cannot be on the foundation of compromising the philosophy, speculating the philosophy, giving your own purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport, confusing the confused people further. Confusing the confused people further. That's why I always emphasize, keep enthusiasm. Morning Mangalarti, everyone should have a smile on the face. Devotees should not be stressed out. Mangalarti aana pada aaye hai, but you should be relishing the beauty of the Lord. When you're singing in chorus, you should be relishing the meaning of the songs which we are singing. You should be relishing those meanings. Sansara dhava nanalida loga. Spiritual master, we are burning, actually burning, and spiritual master has saved us. We should be contemplating. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Karya. Okay, yes, I want to. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. Yes, if I surrender to him, this whole Vedic literatures, which is vast, I cannot understand with my knowledge. But what? Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. It will manifest in my heart. The conclusion of the scriptures will manifest in my heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. It will happen. This is not that into singing. We were singing Radha Madhav, right? Actually, it is, once you become a devotee, Maya comes like this. Guru Puja is going on, you're not singing. Shri Guru Charana. But singer is also going, Shri Guru Charana. Others are going, Padma Kevala. Not like this. Attentive, like a rock, like a attention. Shri Guru Cha. And everyone in chorus also. Like, let us try. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Together loudly. Did you hear like this in Guru Puja any day like this? No. Because we get distracted. The material world is such a place. That's why these things, you have to just put focus on the basics. Every individual should sing and try to see Prabhupada's videos. How he used to do Kirtan, how the chorus used to be, how the positions of Mirdanga player, Kartala player, all this thing. This is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. This is the beauty. Prabhupada's Lilamrta is all about this. All about this. Sacrifice, selflessness. Others, how are we going to, by being a pious Hindu, we are not going to change this world. We have to be missionaries with deep spiritual qualities and complete faith. With spiritual qualities. Compassion is very important. Compassion is very important. One new devotee had come, and one devotee who was there 30 years in the movement. he was fighting for a sweet. In a festival, there was a prasadam queue. So one 30 years, who was in 30 years in the movement, he was fighting for some sweet. This new devotee was feeling compassion. This new devotee was feeling compassion on the 30 years devotee is very attached to eating sweet. It's the hota hai, conditions, it's there. After 1 year, that devotee left, the new devotee. He was not there in the movement. This happened in front of my eyes. After a few years, I learned that Baba, initial understanding, technically understanding scriptures is totally different ball game than sustaining 30 years. Understand? Understanding technically the scriptures and judging them, oh, he's a conditioned soul, he's a fallen soul, he's a struggling soul. And then the person who has sustained 30 years. We are very cautious, you have to be. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions? Comments? Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta ki.